To the first session of the calendar year, conducted by AMTOI, the training subcommittee, which has been doing sessions regularly for its members. Uh, okay, today's session is basically on cybersecurity, and we have an experienced speaker who's been our supporter, who's always been our support for everything. A brief introduction of him. Mr. Clarence Xavier, who is a part of Abrao Group, brings over 3 years of experience in the IT industry, having worked across multiple domains and delivering software services to clients both internationally and within India. He has successfully led and delivered multi-million dollar projects for clients in Europe and Canada. In his current role with the Abrao Group, he is responsible for end-to-end IT service delivery while defining and executing a technology roadmap that leverages emerging and future-ready technologies. He brings in with the experience of more than 3 decades, which says a lot. And I now invite Clarence to take over. Uh, Good afternoon, Clarence. You're welcome, and the floor is all yours. Just a small note to all the participants to request you to put in all your questions only in the Q&A box and not in the chat box. So later on, it will be after the session is over, we will take over all your questions one by one, and that will make us easy to collate all the questions. Clarence, welcome once again. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Clarence, you're on mute. Participants, please
Yes.
ensure participants, please ensure you put all your questions only in the Q&A box so that we are able to collate it properly. Over to Clarence. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya and Vasant, for that warm introduction. And good afternoon to all our participants, members of AMTOI, and could be from other places. Wish you a very happy New Year, uh, prosperity, and good health to all of you all for the year ahead, and even later on. So today's topic is about one of the main threats that we face, not even in our business, but sometimes even in our personal lives, where we are impacted some way in a form that really takes us by surprise, and even takes me also by surprise whenever I get to see or hear something new. So it's always good to know what are the challenges that are there for some of y'all, if not most of y'all. Some of what I'm going to cover maybe is something that y'all are already aware of. But nevertheless, it's always better to be reminded of some of the very basic things because quite often that's where we slip up or make a mistake. And in this session, I will also be talking about how we could look at potential solutions to protect ourselves. But always remember one thing, there is no 100% guaranteed safety solution. There could be some loophole. It's always best to keep ourselves abreast with what are the various ways today's hackers are trying to compromise us and what are the technologies that we have at our disposal that could, elevate or prevent such attacks coming. So we'll start with the introduction. Now, in today's world, we all know that software is a very key integral part of our business. Even for some who don't use software, they at least use Excel files. And the data in that Excel files is as important as the data in some of the software that we develop or we buy. And unfortunately, we do have these threats where there are people out to make a fast buck at our expense, or those people, a few of them, who are really having, some intent to try and ruin our business by taking down our IT systems or by stealing data. And as I said in my introduction a few minutes back, these attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated in nature. As technology evolves, as technology becomes more sophisticated, as our countermeasures grow to prevent this, so also are the ways and means by which these hackers and malicious players try and penetrate and compromise our systems. Now, one will be really surprised to know that by and large, there is such a low awareness of the threats that are there. And there are some people who quite easily fall prey to such threats. And I will show you in the next few mails how people sometimes, without pausing for a second or for a moment, just blindly do what the mail is asking them to do, and then, falling a victim. Right? So it's important that we have some safeguards. Some are, yes, software measures that we need to take. Some are policies that we need to have. Sometimes basic common sense is enough to spot a threat and prevent us from falling a victim. Okay, so we're going to cover this session in three main items. One is an awareness of where all it could be, where all we could be, compromised or attacked. And by no means is this comprehensive. There can be a lot more that are there which we are not aware, or some which are very technical that I will try and cover in one of the slides. Then what are the best practices we need to follow? Remember, there is no one size solution that will work for everyone. There may be frameworks, there may be guidelines, but you need to take a call at the end of the day and decide, does this solution protect me to, let's say, 80% or 90%, or I feel comfortable with this solution, or I still feel there is a gap with the solution that is being proposed. So that's something which you all need to take a call, but these are best practices that, the experts recommend. And then some policies that we need to have, right? So a combination of policies, best practices, and some kind of investment in both hardware and software solutions to protect ourselves. All of these form a package that can protect us. Each on its own may not be entirely useful. So when we go through the slides, you will have a better understanding of the importance of why we need to embrace all of these in order to be having a holistic protection solution. Okay, so what are we going to cover in awareness? I'm sure you have heard of phishing, so we'll go through what are the different ways that are there in phishing. Email address spoofing, spam, you might have heard, malware, ransom. And for those of us that have developed our own software, they can be as vulnerable as our own laptop. There are ways and means of a software being penetrated, either the data being cleaned out, or the data being corrupted, or the data being stolen, right? So we'll look at some of these points at a very high level, but to be honest, this last point requires a separate presentation on its own, which I would be happy to share after discussing with the training committee. Okay, so let's look at one example of phishing. This is a mail that has come to some of my colleagues, fairly recent mail. You can see. So you can see that here is Microsoft asking this lady, to re-verify her email account. That's about it, right? So, what does one do? Ideally, one should look and see from where this mail is coming in, and why would my account suddenly be getting deactivated. Look at some of the English that is there, right? We are deactivating inactive Microsoft accounts. Very poorly drafted English. So coming from a company like Microsoft, that doesn't happen. Right? So these are some of the telltale signs that one needs to look into. Now, if you look at this slide, right, you will find that the best way to identify whether this is a phishing mail that is a threat, one should move the cursor over the, just a minute. One should move the cursor over the verify now link so that it becomes easy to see where or what this link is taking us to. Now, when you see this, you will see there's nothing related remotely even to Microsoft. There is something called google.gg. It's not even google.com. So that's clearly not a Google domain. So it's clearly someone is trying to entice you to click on a link that is going to take them to some site where a software could be executed and your laptop gets compromised. So one should always pay attention when mails like this come, and I will show you a few more versions. So always take care to ensure that, when mails come like this, that sounds a little bit suspicious, that sounds a bit dubious, look at this, and if in any doubt, have your IT teams look into it before taking any action. Okay, so here is another instance. Here there is no link. A very innocent looking mail from my MD to another colleague. But look at the email address of Mr. Lenny Abro. Nowhere is Abro, nowhere is Lenny in that. A lot of people don't pay attention to that. They just see the name Lenny Abro and then dive into taking an action. So look at this, take your time to respond to a mail or to take action on a mail when something like this comes. Now, generally, as you see, the mails are fairly well crafted. Sender always appears to be genuine, but there are ways to spot out the difference. Now, other examples of such phishing mails are, you will get a mail saying that your current mailbox is running out of space. Click on this link to get more space, or your password is expiring. Hence, you need to change the password or renew it. So click on this link. Or your Office software, O365 or whichever version of Office needs to be updated. Click on this link. Or your antivirus software subscription is expiring next day, click on this link. And as I showed in the previous mail, please share your WhatsApp contact number. Now, there are many more innovative ways of how these hackers try and entice or fool our staff or even us. I've given a few examples that I have come across in the last 1 year alone. I'm sure you all might have seen instances similar to this, but please keep your eyes and ears open. There could be always different ways that these hackers could be trying to get to us. So let's take a look at email address spoofing. Now, what happens is quite often we get a mail that includes several dozen other mails in the to list, CC list. And then a lot of those email addresses look familiar, well known, colleagues, friends, partners, clients that we have been interacting with for a long time. And we respond to that mail. The mail is not asking us to click on anything, but is just asking us to share some details. But you should pay attention sometimes to these emails because it's difficult, I accept, to see this in every email, check and seeing whether all email addresses are correct or incorrect. But if you have a look at what is there on the screen, you will notice some subtle differences. Now, I'll come back to this at the very end. I do not know how many of you all can spot out where there is a suspicious looking email, but we'll come back this to the end. Now, the reason why people do this is because they are silently listening and seeing the mail's interaction between us and our colleagues or our clients and us. And 9 out of 10 times they don't do anything. But one fine day, they will suddenly see that, oh, there is some kind of payment that you need to make, or your client needs to make to you, or you need to make a payment to a vendor. And that's when they will wake up. And one fine day, you will suddenly see an email saying, our bank account has changed. Here is our new bank account details. And then we make the payment to that new bank account details without thinking twice of trying to verify or reconfirm that. And then that's it. We lose the money. So this is another way where people are trying to make a quick buck. They're not after our data, but they're trying to see how they can fool us with having us make payments to their accounts instead of to the vendors or to the clients. Now, you will see mails like this, I'm sure, coming into your mailbox. They look very innocent. If you see the email address also, it looks genuine. It's coming in from a well-known hotel group. So what happens is you start to see this email. Sometimes you're a bit curious. You want to see, okay, what are they offering? You click on the link, and let's say 9 out of 10 times, fine. You see the information they're trying to provide and then decide ignore it, or let's say you want to explore it. But you never know. One of these emails will suddenly come where the link that they are taking you to is something that is very dubious, and you may get caught out on that. So watch out for such emails. Be careful. Always do some additional checks. So whenever I get mails like this, I don't normally click on this link. I check to see the domain selectcutionshotels.com. I just see if it is a genuine website. And then I decide, okay, I want to explore this further or not. So these are some of the steps I personally take. I'm sure there could be other ways that you would also be following. So look at what I just said. The full form of spam is there. I'm sure all of you will be knowing. And like I said, 9 out of 10 times they are genuine but a nuisance. But you never know when such a phishing mail can sneak in. So be careful and exercise caution whenever you want to try and explore any of these ads that come in. Okay, so malware and even on the next slide, ransomware. Right? Um, these are softwares that are the most dangerous. They are there to either steal our data, to either block a laptop from being accessed by us, or to encrypt our data and then seek a ransom from us before the data becomes unencrypted or decrypted and then made available back to us. Now, how do these software come in? So there are a variety of ways. So as I mentioned in the past, we have phishing. So sometimes you click a link, it takes you to an innocent looking website. You explore it and then you say, okay, fine, not too interested further. But unknowns to us, a software gets downloaded on our laptop. It executes. It may take action immediately. It may take action on another day, another hour. One will not know. So it's always better to ensure that we avoid at any cost clicking on those links that take us to a site or is asking us to verify our email or to say that my mailbox size has to be increased. Now, another way through which malicious software can come in is when we download apps. Now, these days, downloading apps on mobile phones is very easy and very tempting. And if you see, many organizations, entities try to push their apps upon us, right? Some of them are really good, some of them outright junk. But you should decide which apps you want to use. Now, one rule that I use is I have an Android phone. I always make sure that if they say there is some company that's I'm interested in their services and they send an email saying download this app of ours, I make sure I go directly to Google Play Store, search for this app and download it. I don't try and download it from the link they gave. Now, 9 out of 10 times, a lot of them are genuine service providers. The links that they give will be links to app on Google Play Store or Apple Store, as the case may be. But there are some people who don't want to go through the hassle of having their apps verified and independently tested for various reasons. Maybe cost, maybe they have some other intent. So they host these apps on their servers. And when you click on those links, it will download those apps. And those apps are not being third party verified, tested, evaluated. They're not gone through all the checks that Google and Apple typically have if you want to host apps on their store. So that's an indication that there could be something suspicious, something fishy. Avoid using those apps, right? Always rely on apps that are there on the official channels, that is Google Play Store or Apple Store. Now, sometimes we want to use some applications that are extremely costly. But then there is some friend who will say, अरे उस दुकान को जाओ, वो पता है कैसे डाउनलोड करना पड़ेगा बिना लाइसेंस के साथ. So don't fall in for that. Sometimes it's so tempting to say, okay, I'll just use it for a day, I'll just use it for 2 days, then after this, I'll remove it. Sometimes we get away with it, sometimes we don't. A lot of these cracked applications are available, but they also carry some additional baggage with it. And this additional baggage is typically some other software that is going to be downloaded and installed on our laptop. And, you know, they then go on to do whatever they want to do. Now, keep in mind that in today's world of mobile phones, a mobile phone is as good as our own laptop. You can do practically everything in it. So one should exercise the same care as we do with our laptops or with our desktops. Okay. Now, another thing is some of these apps that get downloaded, they're just silently sitting there tracking, which sites we visit, what are the passwords. And they do that because they want to see if you're visiting any banking website where they could then get the password and log in later on from wherever they are, and then do some transactions. Sometimes some of these software will just slow down our PCs, not do anything else, but to the extent that you will have to say, okay, let me reformat my laptop. Some delete critical files on our PC. They just want to make things miserable for us. Some will send important data to unknown servers or to the dark web where they could, exploit us later. A good example of these are photographs, sometimes personal photographs that we keep that could be leveraged for some reason at a later point of time. And then also to track your email password. So sometimes one may not see anything happening on our PC, but there is something that is there going on in the background. And, we see something totally different later on. And we can't relate the two, but there is a connection when a software such as, cracked application or a software that is not on Google Play Store gets downloaded and we begin to use it. And it's always good, not good, important to have some total protection software. In the early days, we used to call it as antivirus software, but that's a fairly long time back. As time passed, as hacking become more sophisticated, one needs software that can protect us across multiple channels, across multiple devices. So that is why they come to be called as total protection software. And I will talk about this later in the subsequent slides. Yeah, so we have talked about ransomware. I'm sure all of this we have heard about. I hope none of you all have had the misfortune to experience this, but it can happen to anyone. We have seen even in companies that have the best of protection systems, one careless staff is all that it takes to get compromised. So it's important, therefore, that we continue to educate our staff on the best practices that we need to follow while we implement various safety measures. Okay, so I mentioned about vulnerabilities in our bespoke software. Now, you will be surprised to know how software can be hacked, what are the various ways that a software can be penetrated without our knowledge, and where either the data is corrupted or the data is stolen and then used elsewhere. So it's important that for those of us who write our software and use it for our key business requirements, we commission an independent vulnerability assessment and penetration test. Now, this test will show us how easy it is to penetrate our software and where all it is vulnerable and in what way. Now, there are certain certified vendors to conduct this test. There are also many other vendors who are not certain certified. Now, one should be a little bit careful with those people who are not certain certified. That is because of two reasons. One, they may not have the necessary skill set to do all kinds of testing. Two, you never know about the background about this, because if these people, you know, are able to assess where a software is vulnerable, you never know. They might give us 9 out of 10 points. The 1 point they might keep it and then use it to their advantage. So, most important that if you are going to go for a vendor to do a VAPT, always look for a certain certified vendor. On Certain's website, they give a list of the vendors who are accredited to them. So look up any one of them and decide to conduct the test. And most important is we need to train our IT staff on what are the industry recognized secure coding practices. And there's a lot of them. It's one thing to know, it's another thing to ensure that it is diligently followed. It requires discipline, it requires management oversight to ensure that it is continuously happening. Because if even one person on the team slips up, that could be exploited, right? So, most important that staff are aware of how their coding can compromise the software, can compromise the company, can compromise the clients. So, this can be as a separate session. I will speak with Priya, Harish, and Vasant to see when and how we can have a separate session just on this particular topic. Okay, so let's look at what are the best practices. Now, a lot of this is something that I'm sure you'll have heard in different forums or something that you have already implemented in your own organizations. Nevertheless, it's always good to be reminded about this. And for those that are not aware, well, there's a good chance, there's a good opportunity to look up and see if there is something that needs to be additionally done. So let's look at passwords. We know now anywhere, everywhere, passwords are required. So I just put down a set of do's and don'ts. I won't repeat it, what was there. I think you all can see what is there on the slide. So I'll just give a few seconds so that you can go through it. I'm sure the slide will be shared subsequent to this presentation. Okay. Here is something that is usually missed. When we order laptops for our staff, the laptops come in with full admin access, meaning we can do anything on the laptop. Now, that is an element of risk for us because if a user has full admin rights to do anything on the laptop, so can also the hacker who can get access to your system. So, what should be done is a separate ID created for the admin on that laptop with a unique password that the IT staff would know. And then for the user who is going to be using the laptop, another login ID is created on the device with that staff's name, and they get what is called as standard access privilege. So I'm using the word standard access privilege because that's the term that is used on Microsoft Windows. So this ensures that should, despite all the precautions one takes, there is a slip up by a user or by someone from the staff. This, in a way, is causing or putting a barrier because with standard access rights, there are several things that one cannot do. So this acts like the first point of control so that, even the hacker software cannot try and get those privilege rights to try and do something really harmful. Needless to say, the password for the local user or the local admin needs to be kept safely and, under control with only few having access to it. The next is USB access. Now, USB access is there to provide a lot of convenience. You could use it for your mouse. You could use it for, let's say, some other device like a Wi-Fi network, or even to copy data. Right now, it is possible on a laptop to control the way our USB ports are used. So if I were to connect a mouse to it, it would work without any problem. But if I were to connect a pen drive or an external drive, it would not allow access to it. Now, we are doing this for two reasons. One, we don't want a pen drive that could be potentially infected coming and then infecting our laptop. Second, we do not want anyone from copying business critical data from our laptop onto a pen drive that can then go somewhere outside the organization, right? And we all know what can happen in such situations. So this is another step to take to prevent loss of data, or equally bad, infected software coming and sitting on our machine and causing misery for us. If you all happen to have servers on which your software runs or where some data is, make sure that this is controlled. Make sure that the people using those servers are having laptops that are always clean, meaning there is no doubt about the laptop being compromised in any way. You can also select which are the laptops that need to have access. So, for example, you can say that if a particular staff who needs access to the server, he or she needs to be only in the office in order to access the server. If they are at home, they cannot have access to it. So that's another option that you have. Right? And regularly reveal who are the people who are connecting to the server or logging to the server, so that you know that only the people who need to have access to the server are doing that and not anyone else. Now, earlier on, I talked about total protection software. So apart from potential malware, ransomware, what we used to earlier call as virus being installed on our computer or rather protecting it from being installed on a computer. As I mentioned, there are a lot of websites that are dubious. These total protection software keep getting a list of unsafe websites. So they have a database that they refer to, which is regularly updated by the software vendor. And either they can block you outright or they can give you a warning before you go to the unsafe website. Then they also check to see if there's any files, data files that are there. It could be PDFs, it could be Excel files that may be having some kind of compromise in them, right? Some kind of malware software is within the PDF file or the Excel file. And then it will also check if you're connecting to unsecured Wi-Fi networks. Now, we have seen usually there are many places where they say free Wi-Fi network, but that's typically unsecured. So it means that anyone can see anyone's data going on that network. And that, of course, means it's risky. So these total protection software will warn you, prevent you from getting compromised when you're in such environments or trying to access something that could be unsafe. Now, I don't want to, say that product X is better than product Y or product Z. All of them that you see on the screen are equally good. They have their advantages and their disadvantages. And of course, there's also the cost difference. We all know, of course, that Microsoft Defender is free because it comes in built in with Windows now. But it has some limitations. At least the free version has some limitations. So you could always speak with your IT consultant and see which works best for you within the means that you have in terms of the cost factor that is there. Okay, the next is data backups. So data backups is like our insurance. We all take medical insurance and hope to never use it, but it's important because you never know when it's required. So having a backup of your data, having a regular backup of the data is most important. We should not push it for another day, another time, because you never know when we may need to use it. So there are ways to back up. You can back up to the cloud. You can back up to external USB drives. It's a decision that you can take. The well-known cloud solutions for backup are OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox. They all, of course, come at a cost, a recurring cost, usually a subscription-based cost, as compared to, let's say, an external USB drive where you pay a one-time cost. So there are advantages, disadvantages on each approach. You could decide and see what works best for you. And most importantly, make sure that you're randomly testing, restoring a file from the backup and see if it is readable. In the early days, when people used to back up to tape drives, the software would say successfully backed up. But when you try and restore it, the file will get restored. You would see the file name on the folder. But when you try and open, it doesn't open. Says the file is corrupted. So it's important, even in today's world, to randomly check and see if these files are still in a condition that can be opened and read, because there's no point just having files that can't be opened. And most important, it's a matter of discipline over here. Backup every day without fail. One can never say, when we might need some data that is lost. Now, Backups are there not just because of malicious intent by some people. Sometimes we genuinely delete a file. Sometimes a colleague gives us a file that has the same file, but the content in the file was not to our satisfaction. So we want to go to a previous version, but we have overwritten the file, so we don't have any means. So backup again helps in that situation where we can go back and take a previous version. Okay, unauthorized software. So as I said, there are many free software available today. Now, I'm not saying that all unauthorized software are compromised, but you never know which is compromised, which is not compromised. And never install a software from free file sharing sites. They are one of the most dangerous. You will see a lot of movies on that, hacked movies that are there, not available, let's say in India, but only available in the US, but now suddenly it's available for you to watch. But you never know what else could be coming along with those movies. Mhm. And like I said, keeping the local admin rights separate from your regular login rights is one way, or is your first sort of barrier or protection to ensure that you're not being compromised. Okay, so just like how our software could be compromised, even the great Microsoft Windows gets compromised, can be compromised, and likewise any other software developed by any other vendors, not just Microsoft software. So it's most important that we keep our laptop regularly updated. Uh, with Windows, you have the capability to decide how frequently I should get updated my laptop, and then whether it should happen immediately or whether you need to give an approval to it. But at some point of time, Microsoft will push through their software update, irrespective whether you give the approval or not. But that's usually after, let's say, 2 months or 3 months. But that window could be a chance for some compromise to happen. So it's always important that at least for individual laptops, once in 2 weeks, make sure your laptop is getting regularly updated. Okay, so as I said earlier on, these days our mobile phones sometimes are as powerful as our laptops or computers, just a different voice. They are also prone to cyber attacks. So we should be as careful with our mobile phones as we do with our laptops. Let's keep our devices locked. Keep a fairly short uh, timeout period for having the phone lock on its own. Some people keep it for 15 minutes, which is maybe convenient but could be risky. So that's a call that you need to take. There are updates that come in from the mobile OS vendor. Make sure that you're having those regularly done. Always connect to secure Wi-Fi's, and then beware of what software you are downloading. And what does side loading software mean? Sometimes there are apps that look to provide us with some kind of functionality that we are very keen but not easily available. But in order to download that software, it requires a higher level of privilege on the mobile phone. And these software then ask you to take a set of steps before you can install them. So this side loading is basically bypassing the built-in safety measures that is there either with Android OS or with Apple iOS in order to get some additional functionality. So never do that. Don't jailbreak or root your device. by trying to get admin privileges on your mobile phone, because that could, in most cases, lose your warranty, and it could also stop your phone entirely working. And today, total protection software is available not just on laptops but on mobile devices. I've also installed on my Android phone total protection software. So you can choose the product or the brand that you want, but please make sure that you got something installed. Right? Okay. Also make sure that you have non-disclosure agreement. So non-disclosure agreements can be not just with your company and another entity. These days, it's also important that we have it with our staff, because our staff also has access to sensitive data of the organization. And you never know when there is a disgruntled element who walks away with your data. So it's important to be safe than sorry. Okay, so let's look at potential solutions. So what I have tried to do is look at three different scenarios where we have a single branch with less than 10 staff, multiple branches with around 30 staff, and multiple branches with about 300 staff. Okay, so let's look at a branch that has 10 staff. So very simple layout. They have a Wi-Fi connection, just 3 laptops, and best to have, therefore, in that scenario, a USB drive on which all your data can be backed up. But at the same time, making sure on all the laptops you have some total protection software. Then let's look at the next scenario where we have multiple branches with 30 staff approximately. So you have on the top branch one, and then below we have a branch two. So you can see that the size of the branches are slightly different. So with a smaller branch, you just go for a solution that has USB drive and of course total protection software. Then the branch that is slightly bigger, you implement a firewall to take care of protection. And if you're accessing a server on the cloud, make sure that for that server also there is a firewall. And at the same time ensuring that your data, could be Excel files, Word files, PDF, whatever, are stored on some kind of cloud storage. Because it becomes a little bit difficult to manage in a large branch USB drives for each and every staff. So in such a scenario, having a cloud storage that is accessible to all is the best solution to make sure your data is safe and not lost. Then we come to huge organizations having about 300 staff, each branch being very large. So then the best solution is to have firewall at each branch, cloud storage to store all the data. And if your server is on the cloud, then having a cloud firewall. If you have an in-premise server, make sure that you are also having a firewall for that particular server so that it is not in a position where it could be compromised. Now, a slight variation to this scenario, you may have, as I just said, your server in the head office. So it should be protected by the firewall. There are still a lot of organizations who prefer to keep their server in premise. That's fine. But there are a lot of people who also prefer to keep it on the cloud. because it reduces the chance of the server in the office not being accessible for whatever reason, network outage, power outage, or whatever the reason may be. So I just talked about this. It's always better to have a firewall once you start to have 10 or more people in the branch. Also highly recommended if you have your own, uh, have a firewall for your own server. And deciding against, sorry, between a cloud and an in-premise firewall is based on the capability that we have within the organization. If we have something in-house or in-premise, it means that we need to have the right people to take care of this because there's no one else that is going to do. You need to have staff, specialized skills with the specialized skills, which comes at a cost. Whereas compared to the cloud, you can outsource that where they have the necessary expertise and where their cost is spread across different customers or this. Okay, after doing all of this, if we are compromised and attack, what do we need to do? One is try and isolate if we know the infected computer from the network. Right? If we know, sometimes it's not possible at all. Right? If we know that several computers are impacted or infected, have the network shut down so that the impact is localized to wherever that has happened. And in case of a data loss, then recover from backups wherever they may be and simultaneously changing your passwords. Most importantly, report it to the cybersecurity cell of our government. So these are the handles that they have. One needs to be a little bit patient in dealing with them because they ask for a lot of information, but that's the way it works. And, you'll need to make sure that there is someone who's continuously following up to ensure that action is happening. Okay, now we come to what are the policies we should have in the organization. So it's one thing to have a setup which is going to take care of our software, is going to take care of our laptops, but we also need to have some policies in place. So let's look at what they are. So we should have a policy where a password rule is documented. So by that, as I showed you in some of the earlier slides, how long is the password? What is the constitution of the password? You want letters, you want numbers, you want special characters, you want some letters to be uppercase. What is the history of the passwords? Now, many organizations implement a rule where you cannot reuse the last 7 or 8 passwords. So you need to always keep coming up with something new. Right? And then what is the expiry date of the passwords? Now, no password is going to be, there permanently for the rest of our life. We need to keep changing it. So some organizations implement a 45-day expiry rule, some 60, some 90, some 120. That's a call you need to take. But it's most important that these passwords expire, forcing the staff to change them. Then categorize what sites you should not access, right? At least when the staff is within the office network. So you may say that they shouldn't access social media sites, shouldn't access shopping sites, whatever. That's something that you could define. Now, there are total package softwares that provide additional modules where you could define the categories of sites that should not be accessed. And they have a service where they try and categorize all the sites that are coming up under some of these categories so that automatically they get blocked or allowed to your staff to use. Sometimes there may be some exceptions that you want to allow, so it allows you to do that. So have a list of such rules that will control what can or what cannot be used or accessed, and if they need to be accessed, then what is the mechanism or the approach to get some approvals for that. Then identify what software that can be installed on the laptop. So typically, when we are using our laptop, it just comes with the operating system. Sometimes there is an offer to have Office 365 on it, which you could use. So sometimes as part of your work, you need to install some of the products from AMTOI. So again, put down the list of what software can be installed without approval, what requires approval. And this can also be configured in the total protection software so that when any of the approved list of software is being installed, it will allow it. Anything else, it will block it. You could also define what is the software that cannot be uninstalled on the laptop. So you could also make out that list. Then have a rule or a policy that defines when and who can use USB drives for document access, right? It's very difficult to put a blanket rule and say no one can use USB drive to copy data. So that is why it's most important that we have some kind of documentation to say who can have access to such devices and what are the controls to allow that kind of access. Then having some kind of framework to report, any of these attacks, a phishing attack, a spam mail. So it's important that the IT team is made aware. The reason is because someone from the team may have received an email asking verify your mailbox or time to renew your password. But that user is smart, sharp, recognize that it is a phishing mail and has handled that. But there may be other colleagues who may not be paying the same due attention. So it's important that the IT staff is made aware so that they can send out a general advisory to other colleagues saying, be careful. You may also see an email like this, and what is the action that to be taken. Now, we can put all these policies in place, but we need to also check and see whether they're being complied with. So having regular assessments is most important. Otherwise, that will just be a document that we've got. And, one fine day when we are impacted, it'll be too late to understand, why a policy did not work purely because it was not followed diligently. So most important that we conduct this regular assessments. Then there is the non-IT security policies also. Having a clean desk, documenting the level of confidentiality that is there. So there are some offices, some people who have a lot of papers on their desk. When they leave for the day, those papers are there. One never knows who can get access to the paper, nor do we know what is the importance of the paper until the damage is done. So it's most important that we have a clean desk at the end of the day. When we wind up, make sure that all documents are under lock and key that cannot be accessed by anyone else. And then identifying the documents that are confidential, that can be shared within the organization, and that can be shared publicly. So this will ensure that people who are having access to the documents know to what extent that document can be shared, whether it can be shared with colleagues, cannot be shared, or can be shared to the public. Okay, so in conclusion, one can never be too safe. It's always best to err on the side of caution. We may take some additional steps that may look unnecessary to some colleagues, some friends, but let's not be worried about that. Let's take whatever measures we can take where we feel comfortable. Always look out for information on new threats that are coming, because just as countermeasures are being put in place to block a way of attack, these malicious hackers are coming up with even more different ways of how they can make things difficult for us. So always be informed about that. And finally, continuously assess the level of compliance. Take immediate action when you see deviations, and let everyone know that deviations will not be accepted. It's only when they see that message, they will also take things seriously. So, most important that we have this level of compliance continuously checked. So I come to the end of my presentation. I hope you all have found it useful. I will look forward to your questions that you have before I go on to my last slide, which I will keep it for the very end. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Clarence. That was one fantastic session. A lot of useful information. I have few questions, some from the members and some from me. So
Go
I'll
ahead.
just I'll bring that onto the screen.
Should I stop sharing for the benefit of
Oh,
others?
yes. You stopped sharing already.
Yeah, okay.
I hope I mean, you can see the questions. Question number one is from Mr. Mohammed Hazik. He says many organizations hesitate to regularly patch
Yeah.
systems, increasing their exposure to network threats. Given that patch management and security scanning are core principles of network hardware hardening, why is there no mandatory or standardized framework enforcing these practices across IT teams, despite the clear risks such as malware and data interception?
So, Mohammed, very good question. Because I know that there are many organizations who take it easy. But because of this kind of behavior, and this is not unique to India, but everywhere else, Microsoft now has implemented a maximum cutoff time, at least as far as laptops go, not servers, but for laptops, where beyond, I think, 2 cycles or 3 cycles, the patch then gets force installed on your laptop, and you can't prevent that from happening. So that's something that they're trying to do, but this is Microsoft. We use a lot of software from other vendors. They don't have a similar policy. And the only way is to ensure, therefore, is A, when you have local admin rights, right, you can control as to how long the patch can wait before it gets installed. So you don't leave it to the mercy of the user or the user's discretion to decide that. Now, there are even more stronger and robust solutions but which come at a cost. So in big organizations, you have patch management systems where your laptop is connected to that patch management server, whether you like it or not. And whether you like it or not, the patch will get rolled out when the IT guy decides, yes, it's time to deploy it, right? Unless, of course, your laptop is offline. So here it's a matter of discipline to knowing that it is important. We have all the tools at disposal, but again, it's a matter of discipline. As I said, there's no easy answer to it. I hope I've answered this question.
Hope so. I'm sorry, I'm having a technical issue. My video is getting frozen again and again, so I'm keeping it switched off for now. The next question is from Madhukar Jadhav. Nowadays, most of the staff is using AI tools to perform their daily work. So, how do we define which are the AI tools or websites which are safe? And since, as mentioned, most of the staff is using AI tool, is easy for the hacker to tamper such websites. And if yes, how we can secure ourselves with this?
So one of the things or I would suggest a few steps, Madhukar, and this is what we have done. Like I said, we control what websites will be used or can be accessed. Now, we don't want to be so restrictive so as to prevent innovation from happening. We want to allow staff to be able to explore what are the new technologies and see how it could benefit them, how it could benefit their team, department, or organization. All right. But we are controlling what software can get downloaded and installed. So if they have come across something which they believe is good for the organization or the customer, whatever it is then for the IT team to do their assessment before deciding that, yes, this is a tool worth using. Let's allow access to this by enabling permissions to download and install this software. And that's the way I am doing it. Right. I allow my staff to explore, but before they install something, I make sure that, we control that. In case they say that, look, I can only explore it after I download and install on my system, then what we do is there are a few laptops that we have kept which can get internet access but cannot get access to our own internal network. So whatever they do it on that laptop. If the laptop goes bad, then that laptop dies. Nothing else goes bad with it. So that's another approach that I take. So you can see if that works for you.
So I think Madhukar's question is also specific to usage on daily basis. So I'm assuming it's more like using Gemini,
Yeah, see,
Copilot, ChatGPT, and Perplexity.
Gemini Copilot we know are from some of the
Fine.
most reputed vendors, right? So there's
Yeah.
nothing to worry about that.
What
Now,
about ChatGPT?
yes, so there are many implementations of ChatGPT. So you need to make sure that um, you know there are implementations of ChatGPT using some LLMs that are free or available for X number of days on trial basis. So which LLMs are being used? That is something that should be analyzed and seen if they are used by many others in the industry or in the world, and then take a call as to which is to be allowed. Now, as to how it is to be used, it's difficult for me to answer that.
No, 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 not how,
Ah.
but should they be, can they cause problem? Can ChatGPT or Perplexity or can they cause harm to our systems?
See, most of these don't allow or they don't give any software that you can
Definitely.
download and readily use. They can help generate code that you could, right? So actual source code they give, which you then need to copy, compile, and then build. So that way they are safe.
Okay. Okay. Great. So the next question, Preetham, can you please guide how important it is to perform Windows update? I think you've already answered this. When we have dedicated total production software regularly being updated and used to scan system on periodic intervals.
Okay, so what the total protection software is doing is one, it keeps getting itself updated to check for new threats. It can tell you that, look, you're not updated your laptop in the last 1 month or 2 months, but it can't enforce that or implement that. That is the difference. So, yes, you still need to do a Windows update.
Okay. So the next question, some of these questions are from me. Um, Apps, there is, can we block the DNS on our phone? Should we be blocking, there are some apps which prompt ads and so a click can go to another page cannot be. I was using this dns.andguard.com, especially for my daughter's phone, when it making it easier to ensure safety that she doesn't
Yeah,
click
yeah.
one click to the other click. So, are they safe?
To be frank, I have not used this software. What I have installed on my own phone as well as the rest of my family, Priya, is I've installed McAfee on my mobile phone. So that has got several protection. One among this is no ad click at all, so blocks all ads, right? Unless the ad is within a particular app itself, right? So again, there are a lot of free apps that you can download, but along with them comes a lot of this third-party ads that one needs to be cautious about. So that is the approach I have taken. I'm not saying that this is wrong or not right, but it's something I have not used myself.
Okay. The next question is some phone companies say they block unknown links. Like I think Airtel now claims that they
Yes,
you can't. So
many
is
software
it
is
really
doing.
true? Is it really true, or is it
Yes,
really
yes. No, it is true. So what it does is it shows you the URL, but if you try and click on it, it doesn't allow you to click on it and go to something else. So you can see the URL and then decide and take a call whether it's something you want to copy, then paste it on a browser and access it. So it gives you time to reflect and think whether this is something that you want to do.
great? A lot of this is something one of my domestic help had an issue that suddenly she realized that in her statement that almost 2000 rupees was spent in multiple auto debits through UPI on her phone. Maybe she
Yeah.
was accessing some uh, various websites for screen time, but they without knowledge, she was having auto debits on her phone pay app. So how do they prevent this?
See, usually, um, and this is something that I've seen. I don't use PhonePe, I use Google Pay. Now, whenever there is an attempt by any app or any site trying to access this auto debit, I get a pop-up alert from Google Pay saying that this particular site wants to set up an auto debit. Do you wish to continue? Now, this is going to be in English, and we know that our housekeeping staff do not know anything about English, right? At least, 9 out of 10 do not know English. I don't have any easy answer. They do give these warnings and alerts, but sometimes, people don't pay attention or they can't read or interpret what is being shown on the screen and just decide to click on one of the buttons. But the auto debits do not have. Now, there's a way. in Google Pay where you can go and stop all those auto debits, whatever you want. I'm not sure about PhonePe, but I'm very sure that that will
Yes,
also be there.
it does have that. I had to go and remove 7 auto debits, which he was not
Right.
aware at all.
Yeah.
But
So
is
one
there a
thing is, if
pen?
if
That was
if
the
the yeah if the housekeeping staff are comfortable in some particular language, that means not just speaking but reading at least, then it is always recommended that they change the language of their phone to that language so that they can understand whatever these prompts are coming up.
sure. Sure. While you were sharing about taking up old backup, the next question what I came into my mind is that when you say that malware can be stored and used for a future this thing, does the backup drive can have the malware stored? And if you take a
See,
regular backup,
yeah. So, Priya, now let's say you you decide to take your backup on an external hard drive. You ordered it on Amazon, right? What you should do first is to do a format of it, right? So that it is clean. Then you start to use it. Now, you need to make sure that for the rest of the time, it is kept in a place that it is safe and secure. If someone takes this and uh, attaches it to their laptop, which is compromised, that compromised software can be replicated onto your backup drive. So it's most important that our backup drives are kept under lock and key with very limited people having access to it. Then definitely there can't be any harm. See, I myself have my own backup drive kept under lock and key over here, right? And I've been using this stuff for almost 6 years. No harm.
great. So we've had 2 more questions. Anand asked, DMARC record is important for email domain to prevent from cyber attacks.
I won't say it is to prevent from cyber attacks, but it is important for other email systems to recognize you as a valid or authentic email domain. If a DMARC record is not there, sometimes the receiving side will treat your mail as spam and put it into the spam folder, which you don't want to happen. Hence the need to have a DMARC record.
Okay. Atharva's question is modern routers have built-in
Yeah.
firewalls, but they only provide basic protection. For stronger defense against DDoS attacks, ransomware, and internal threats, is it better to buy dedicated hardware like a separate firewall box or rely on security software? What is the most effective way for a business to stay safe?
Yeah. So, Atharva, you have firewalls that are appliance based, meaning it's a separate hardware box, and firewalls that can run on a server, that is a software. Now, uh, both these are costly when compared to just relying on a Airtel given router that has some kind of firewall in it. I would rely on that, uh, at least for your office use. For the house use, maybe that's good enough because you're just using your mobile phones to access the internet, right? And occasionally, of course, laptop. Now, coming to the firewall, a hardware-based firewall is the most costliest solution, but it has advantages. One, because it's a separate appliance by itself, it cannot be easily compromised as against or firewall software running on another server. So if the server itself gets compromised through some other means, then even that firewall is gone. Second thing is hardware-based firewall has got better capability for high volume of traffic. So you need to then see based on your office environment what will work best for you, whether it is uh, you know a hardware-based firewall or a software-based firewall. Now, irrespective of which solution you go with, always remember that all of these vendors are also making money out of this. There is an initial cost for the solution, then they have what is called a subscription cost, meaning that every year you need to pay a fairly high amount to them to make sure that they are keeping their software updated and patched up to protect against newer threats. Otherwise, if you don't do it, after a couple of years or 3 years, your firewall become outdated and they will not give you the kind of protection you really need.
Thank you so much, Clarence. One last thing, which
Yeah, sure.
not exactly a question, but something which we all have to do together is the dealing with the cybercrime team in India. I mean, in case we are stuck,
Mm.
I had connected with
Yes,
you.
yes,
One of the
yes.
issues, and recently in our AMTOI business group, one or two members had also come up with sharing their situations where for smaller amounts there was a lien in their account for no
Mm-hmm.
fault of ours or no fault of theirs, the money gets stuck. So we would
Yes.
like to soon host for our members, maybe with if we could look for a representative from the cybercrime team who can help us, be with us, and if we could conduct a session on what kind of cases are there and how do we resolve with the cybercrime team. I mean, for us it was a
Mm.
really painful process.
I
It was,
understand. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
aware.
for no mistake of ours. We
Yeah.
were probably the seventh in the
In the
sequence,
line.
in the
Yes.
chain, seventh in the chain, and then about 17 of our staff and two of our bank accounts, the company accounts got frozen, and it took them 2 weeks to resolve it.
Yeah.
Whereas the main person who had done the complaint had got the
It's
money the
already
same.
gone.
He
Yeah.
got the money the same day, but our company, it took it took 2 weeks, and somebody had to sit on with the
With them
cybercrime
virtually.
team.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I understand. I'm
So it
aware.
was a really painful process. So this is also something which we want to really
Yeah.
work on for the members. And
So,
I really request members, if they've had any problem with the cyber, I mean any experience rather with the cybercrime team, we'd be happy to if you could share the case study so that we can maybe discuss it and organize. So Clarence, that's a homework for you.
yeah, that's not an issue. So one thing that we can do is I do know that Shantanu sir knows some people in the Mumbai cyber security team. So I will speak with him and see if he can arrange. But he did say that they are more comfortable speaking in the local language. So that's something that we probably need to compromise on.
Okay. So then we will have Vasanbhai sit as our translator.
Yeah, on that topic, I just wanted to add, we are in touch. There are a couple of senior police inspectors who are heading the cybercrime department, and Shantanu sir and one of his staff, Mr. Girish Gaikwad, who's very closely associated. We're trying to plan a session on this, but the only hitch is that their insistence is this session has to be physical. It cannot be done virtual, is what they are saying. So we are just trying to work out if we can host it depending. But yeah, very soon we are going to have that session for sure. Shantanu has really taken this up seriously. Uh,
Yes. And we
we
really look forward for members to come back to us with case studies so that it becomes a live case scenario and we are able to deal it better. It's always good to learn from other people's mistake and other people's situation. We don't need to we are all there in the same trade, and I think we are all there for each other. So feedback and case studies from members is something which will make the session really useful. So I think that's most important. that for the today's session.
So,
Thank you so much, Clarence.
yeah, before we conclude and close, I had promised that I will show one last slide.
Yes.
Let me just share the screen. Give me a moment. Can you all see the slide?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've highlighted in bold the email address, which is actually the wrong or the fake email address. These were two instances that actually happened,
So
right?
air became L and
ALR, that's it,
yeah,
right?
ALR
Ha.
and
And then Omega
omega
became
became zero.
zero. So when you have a lot of email addresses in the to list and the CC list, it's very easy to miss this out, right? And, this is a way for these people to keep listening to what is happening between two parties and then suddenly jump in. Okay,
When that,
that's it from my side.
okay.
Thank you very much, Clarence. Dr. Sharmila was there for the thank you speech, but I guess she had to leave in between. But thank you
Not
so
a
much.
problem. No, I'm
This was
happy
a
as this is
real
long overdue.
yes. This was a very, very important session. A lot of members had asked for this.
Okay, good.
We've done this in the past, but it's been almost 2 years since we did
Yeah,
this last. And thank you everyone for patiently waiting till the end of the session. We've had more than 100 people attend this, including a lot of people attending this as a group. So I'm sure there are much more than the numbers we could see on the screen. Thank you very much. Please, members, come back to us, write to our secretariat on what kind of trainings would you like AMTOI to take you through. It is important that we uh, prepare based on what you are looking forward for. And the link for the today's session, along with the presentation, will be shared to all the participants. Some of you have asked for that. It will definitely be shared. Also, the link will be available on the AMTOI website. So you can always go through and listen to the video again. I would also like to state here that we have another training session which is planned next week. It is on the IMDG new updates, the new updates in the IMDG code, which are effective from 1st of January. It will be a very important session, especially for people who are handling ocean freight, dangerous goods, and for your general knowledge. So the flyers would be out, the registration link will be out from today. Mostly from tomorrow, and I really look forward for seeing more and more people attending that session as well. Over to Vasanthai.
Okay. Thank you. Just a vote of thanks. Formal Clarence, thank you so much once again. You have always been a great support. We have just come to you with a shout and you are ever ready. So thanks a lot for that, for all your, and today's session was really much, I think what we did in 2 years ago and what this was, I think there have been drastic changes which have happened and you've really
yeah.
updated us on the whole thing.
Thank you. I'm more than
Really
happy
appreciate.
if our members get even at least 1% benefit.
And I really appreciate and thank you very much and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you
Yes.
to all the participants. We hope to see you soon in our next session, which is coming up very soon, as mentioned by Ms. Priya. Thank you all on behalf of AMTOI and have a great evening. Thank you. Thanks,
Have
Thank
Clarence.
a
you,
nice
everyone.
weekend. Thank
Thanks.
you
Have a
all.
nice
Bye
weekend,
bye.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Neha,
Bye
you can
bye.
stop the recording.